I'm bossed up, I got bread to blow. You lost, bruh, and I'm at a show. Getting blowed by a group and you arguing with a pill popping hoe. I'm King White, I own the throne. In town will always be my home. Only white boy making noise in the city, been doing it for 10 years in a row. I got this and always have had it. You can do better, homie, have at it. But why you trying to be a little better than me? I'm with your bitch and I'm trying to take a stab at it. I was 17 when I got signed. I know it hurt your soul and all, but listen to them 11 songs I was on. I was 12 times as cold as y'all. So Paul saw something different than me, and apparently it was success. This is a guess, but when he looked at you, he saw a fucking mess. This is my movie, hope you study, cause after it we're having a test.
Patrick Lanshaw, aka Lil WYTE, would be born in the early 80s in Memphis, Tennessee. He would be raised in Frazier, which is a neighborhood on the north side of Memphis. Growing up, Lil WYTE was always into music, with him noting that he got into rap music via his godmother at the age of 8 or 9. She would hide her Sir Mix-a-Lot tape from his godfather, and the first rap song Lil WYTE would ever hear was the Sir Mix-a-Lot song Buttermilk Biscuits. This was also one of the first rappers that Lil WYTE was into, with the song Baby Got Back being the first rap song that he ever remembered the lyrics to. The first rap cassette that he would ever purchase himself was the Criss Cross album Totally Crossed Out. His love for rap music would get deeper after he would discover the legendary rap group The Ghetto Boys, and he fell in love with their song Mind Playing Tricks on Me. A childhood neighbor of Lil WYTE would be really into underground Memphis music and would introduce him to 3 6 Mafia's debut album, Mystic Styles. Lil WYTE at the time didn't know that there were rappers in Memphis, and this tape would blow his mind. How he got into rapping himself was by first rapping other rappers' verses and then being told by his friends to write his own due to him already having a nice flow. Now he was writing his own lyrics and was originally going by the name Lil Pat due to his real name being Patrick. One of his friends growing up was called Lil Black, which prompted this same friend to now call Lil Pat the name of Lil WYTE. More about this in an interview, Lil WYTE would say, "9th grade high school, my best friend was Lil Black. He actually gave me the name Lil WYTE. I was part of the Shelby Forest clique, which definitely gave me a little bit of direction when it comes to music wise. Really though, I just stuck with my homies. My homies actually guided me because I had about 3 homies that were really big into music that knew that I was going to be something someday, and they really just stayed on my butt. They really pushed me to go through high school and even after school. Before I met 3 6 Mafia, I had about 4 real homies that really just stayed on my butt after making it. I really got to give the major shout outs to my high school friends. They really pushed me. I had always knew that I had talent, and they would just not take no for an answer. Throughout school, Lil WYTE would show off his rapping skills, but the first time he recorded a song, he would rap over the 3 6 Mafia beat for their song The End. But things would really start to change for Lil WYTE after his dad told him that he was going to get his income tax check in a few weeks, and he asked Lil WYTE if he gave him $1,500, could he make a demo tape off of that money. This answer was met with Lil WYTE saying of course, and this would fund his early rap career. He would sell his tapes, and this would lead him to purchasing his first car. He still had to work throughout this time, and he would be working at a warehouse in East Memphis. While working at this warehouse, a major opportunity presented itself when 3 6 Mafia came on the radio promoting Project Pat's 1999 album Getty Green. While on the radio, 3 6 Mafia said that they were looking for new artists, and if anybody in Memphis saw them in the city, don't be afraid to hand them music to hear. Lil WYTE's manager at his job at the time told him that he needed to go to the radio station to catch 3 6 Mafia, but Lil WYTE needed his job and ultimately decided to let somebody else get the opportunity. However, luck would be on his side when the crew that Lil WYTE was rapping with gave 3 6 Mafia their cassette. Lil WYTE would get off of work and he would go home, and his friends would call him and give him some life-changing news. His friends would reveal that 3 6 Mafia wanted to sign the group. 3 6 Mafia would call the group back, and they were intrigued by a 4-man white rap group. For Lil WYTE, it didn't really kick in that all of this was happening just yet. But finally, Lil WYTE would meet DJ Paul and Juicy J of 3 6 Mafia at their Hypnotized Mind studio. An interesting moment occurred when Lil WYTE was at the studio. According to Lil WYTE, his group mates were talking about women smoking in cars, among other nonsensical things with people at the studio, which prompted Lil WYTE to walk off and explore the studio. While he was exploring, he saw the plaques on the wall and DJ Paul would accompany him. DJ Paul saw Lil WYTE looking at the plaques and asked him if he wanted to have one someday, which Lil WYTE said that he wanted multiple. From this moment forward, DJ Paul saw that Lil WYTE was different from everybody else in the group, which ultimately resulted in DJ Paul and Juicy J wanting to sign him to a solo deal. Now Lil WYTE was left with the decision to stay with the group and be unsigned or sign as a solo artist. There was a plan for Lil WYTE to sign as a solo artist and have the group appear on his debut album and sign as a group later on, but the group didn't like that idea. This obviously created a lot of resentment between the group and Lil WYTE, which resulted in tragedy. This is where I wanted to plug in the Chad Arms channel because this is where I got most of the information for this video. On this channel, they have multiple really good interviews with Lil WYTE where he pretty much gives us his life story. In the first long interview that they did with Lil WYTE, he details how the group sent a crackhead to his house, but he wasn't there, so the crackhead beat up his mother and left her with brain damage. This later led to early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's. Now the group that Lil WYTE was running with before the fame was the Shelby Forest Clique. I have watched a completely different interview with the Shelby Forest Clique where they talk about the situation with Lil WYTE. In this interview, they would detail how Lil WYTE got involved in the group and what happened with the Hypnotized Minds record deal situation. Dale, one of the founders of the group, would talk about this, and his and Lil WYTE's stories of what happened leading up to the Hypnotized Minds situation are kind of similar with a few minor differences. Dale would say that Hypnotized Minds gave them all contracts to look over, with Lil WYTE being very anxious to sign it. The group didn't want to sign right away and instead wanted to have a lawyer look over their contracts. They ended up having a lawyer look over their contracts, and according to Dale, the lawyer told him that he hadn't seen a contract like theirs. Allegedly, in this contract, it said that it was for 48 albums or 45 years, depending on whichever came first. The lawyer would tell them that he would try to renegotiate their contracts for a better deal and advise the group to stop hanging out at Hypnotized Mind Studios for the time being. According to Dale, the group stopped going to the studio, but Lil WYTE kept on going behind their back. After negotiations, the Shelby Forest Clique was approached with a final offer. This new deal was for 10 albums, $12,500 a piece in advance money, and the producer of the group would not get credits for his beats. There was a consensus amongst the group that they were not going to take the deal and continue upon the success that they were already having, which could have led them to another deal elsewhere. A day after they decided this, the group had a phone meeting with the lawyer, and the first thing that came out of the lawyer's mouth was that there was a change of plans. Now Hypnotized Minds only wanted Lil WYTE. This shocked the group due to them already agreeing on turning down the contracts. The lawyer would say that after the group came up with the plan a day prior, immediately right after, Lil WYTE went and told Hypnotized Minds about the plan. So this is the story from Dale and the Shelby Forest Clique's perspective. Regardless of what actually happened, Lil WYTE would end up signing to Hypnotized Minds in 2001. He claims that he ended up signing a 4-album deal. What got a lot of people hip to Lil WYTE was after he appeared on the bonus disc for Project Pat's 2002 album Land to Smackdown on the song Crash the Club. Some people didn't even know what Lil WYTE looked like at the time, which led to people not knowing that he was white at all. This reminds me of the story of another white rapper which I did a video on, with that being Paul Wall. When Paul Wall was coming up, not a lot of people knew that he was white because this was back in the day. Paul Wall would do shows and people were expecting a black dude to come out, but it was a white dude in a grill. But once people found out that Lil WYTE was white, then white people embraced him. Black people also very much embraced Lil WYTE as well. Lil WYTE would do an interview and he would talk about Eminem and how when you listen to Eminem, you can tell that he's white. To Lil WYTE, he sounds white, but due to the type of music that he makes, a lot of people could not tell that Lil WYTE was white. After being signed though, Lil WYTE would work on his debut album Doubt Me Now, which ended up releasing in March of 2003. This album is cold from top to bottom. My favorite song on here is We Ain't Playing. This is the first Lil WYTE song that I ever heard, and I was truly blown away the first time that I heard it.
I got a bunch of problems throbbing in my noggin that ain't stopping me. You popping slugs from your Glock on your block, I'm starting killing.
Everything about this song is great, but his flow is what really caught my attention. Dude was going bananas. Obviously, I cannot talk about this album without mentioning the song Oxycontin. This is probably one of, if not the biggest songs that Lil WYTE has ever done.
Man, Oxycontin, Xanax bars, Percocets, and Loratabs. Values, morphine patches, ecstasy, and it's all up a grab.
How the song came about was due to Lil WYTE hanging out with his brother, who tore some ligaments in his legs and would be prescribed Oxycontin. His brother told him to try the Oxycontin and it nearly made him overdose. Lil WYTE obviously survived, and he would tell DJ Paul about what happened to him. Juicy J overheard the story and told Lil WYTE to write a song about his experience. The song would absolutely blow up and would forever change Lil WYTE's life. Something that I find far too common about artists is that a lot of them tend to hate their most popular songs, or at least the songs that brought them a lot of initial fame. An example of this would be Jim Jones despising his song We Fly High. Lil WYTE doesn't like the song Oxycontin, but understands what it did for him and his career. To wrap up this first chapter of the video, I would like to thank you guys for watching this far in. If you like the content, you should like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Also, follow my Instagram too. That would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and just show me some love. It's all good. Without further ado, let's get into chapter 2. It wouldn't be long until Lil WYTE would drop another album. DJ Paul and Juicy J wanted to keep the buzz Lil WYTE had going, so his sophomore album Finally Famous would release in October of 2004. This album would be more successful than Doubt Me Now, with Finally Famous peaking at number 64 on the Billboard 200. This would be 133 spots higher than his debut album. Unlike his debut album, this album would not arrive in stores unannounced, and this would be led by the club banger I Sure Will.
Take that to the bank, get a deposit slip and fill it out. Write it for 30,000, turn around and shove it in your mouth.
Things would also be different with this album because now Lil WYTE was associated with Asylum Records. About this, he would say, 3 6 Mafia was trying to get me a deal, and considering the stuff that I rap about, everybody was nervous about signing me. Didn't nobody want to sign me because of the drug content and all that BS. Joey Manda and Todd Moshkowitz, yes, I said their effing names, Joey Manda and Todd Moshkowitz came together with Ron Spalding and said, Lil WYTE is very talented, we need to get him a record deal, but nobody wants to sign him because of his content. So what they did was they went in and rebought Asylum Records and opened up Asylum Records just to give me a record deal. They opened up Asylum Records, they gave me the record deal. I was the first rapper ever signed to Asylum Records. After that happened, they really just went on a roll and started signing every effing body. Once they got the record company open, they just started signing folks, and they really just threw me on the back burner, to be honest. They really just, oh, we got Lil WYTE, F him, we are going to set him back there. Now we are going to sign Paul Wall and Mike Jones. Now that is no disrespect to Paul Wall or Mike Jones, I effing love both of them guys, like those are my homies and stuff, but when all of us were coming up, Asylum Records was the only record company effing with new artists that really didn't have a name. I think that I should also mention that in 2004, Lil WYTE would appear on the song Who Gives a What Where You're From, which appeared on the soundtrack for the video game NFL Street 2. After Finally Famous, there would not be another Lil WYTE album for almost 3 years. In 2005, Lil WYTE had the opportunity of a lifetime to write for the 3 6 Mafia song Hard Out Here for a Pimp, which appeared in the movie Hustle and Flow. DJ Paul and Juicy J would call Lil WYTE to the studio to do the song with Terrence Howard and John Singleton. Terrence Howard would star in the movie and John Singleton would co-produce the movie. The problem was that it was difficult for Lil WYTE to write the song due to him being faithful to the mother of his kids and being a fresh father at the time. It would be Fraser Boy who would come in and save the day. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves for what he contributed to the song. At first, nobody really expected the song to go on and win an Oscar in 2006, but it did, and it's something that will go down in history. This Oscar win would completely put 3 6 Mafia on another level because now they were 3 6 Mafia, the Academy Award winners. To capitalize off of this success and newfound fame, 3 6 Mafia would have a show on MTV called Adventures in Hollywood, which premiered in 2006. 2007. Lil WYTE would end up appearing on the show and had a whole episode dedicated to him, with that being Rap Stars Are Us, which is the third episode of the show. In an interview, Lil WYTE said that nothing in the show was scripted, and he would further talk about what happened between him and Computer in the show. The producers of the show would stir the pot between Computer and Lil WYTE, which led to Lil WYTE throwing a cup of vodka and cranberry in Computer's face. The Lil WYTE episode would end with him showcasing the single Talkin Ain't Walkin for his at the time upcoming album, The One and Only.
I've been chillin' in the same cut, smoking on the same bud, feeling on the same bus, still fuck with the six, still roll with some killers, still hang with a big clique and kick it with drug dealers.
The song was met with positive reception by representatives of Warner Brothers Records, who Lil WYTE was also affiliated with at the time, in conjunction with Asylum and Hypnotized Minds. The One and Only album is Lil WYTE's most successful album to date, with it peaking at number 46 on the Billboard 200 charts. While the album was successful, Lil WYTE felt like recording for the album was a bit rushed due to everything going on with Paul and Juicy J. In addition to this, Lil WYTE was recording the album while he was in LA recording for Adventures in Hollywood. 2008 is when Lil WYTE started dropping mixtapes, with him dropping Cocaine and Kush that same year. In 2009, Lil WYTE would drop his fourth studio album, The Bad Influence, which peaked at 104 on the Billboard 200. He would continue on dropping a bunch of mixtapes, with him continuing his Cocaine and Kush series while also starting his White Christmas mixtape series. Less than 2 years after Bad Influence, Lil WYTE would form a group called SNO or Snow with Jelly Roll and BPZ. They would release the album year-round in 2011. Lil WYTE would follow this up by releasing his fifth solo studio album, Still Doubted, which is looked upon as a follow-up to his debut album, Doubt Me Now. Still Doubted would release in June of 2012, and it would end up being his last album under Hypnotized Minds. While this ended up being his last album under the label, there was no bad blood between Lil WYTE, DJ Paul, and Juicy J. DJ Paul often refers to Lil WYTE as his son after all. Leaving the label did not slow him down one bit, and Lil WYTE would drop a collab album with Jelly Roll called No Filter in July of 2013. A month prior to this, Lil WYTE and Jelly Roll would drop a mixtape called July 16th, which ended up being the release date for their collab album No Filter. The No Filter album got the two a lot of attention, with them having several big songs such as Band Plays On, Break the Knob, and This Down Here. Previous to No Filter, Lil WYTE had known of Jelly Roll for years, with the two being booked for the same shows and hanging out a few times. I mentioned a little second ago that Jelly Roll and Lil WYTE would be a part of the group SNO. Him and Jelly Roll would begin to build chemistry with each other, leading to them collabing on some songs. One song of note would be the song Pop Another Pill. Time would go by, and eventually Jelly Roll would move to Memphis, and he would live with Lil WYTE for almost 2 years. After the successful release of the collab album No Filter, Lil WYTE would drop another album, but this time it would be with Frasier Boy. The album would be called Bar, or Bay Area Representatives, and would release in February of 2014. Upon hearing the name of the Bay Area Representatives, I was puzzled, because I was thinking, why was Frasier Boy and Lil WYTE representing the Bay Area, which is commonly referred to as a region in California? Little did I know that the Frasier area of Memphis, which Frasier Boy and Lil WYTE both represent, is also referred to as the Bay Area. As far as the project between the two, it was first teased all the way back in 2004 on the song Big Guns, which appeared on Lil WYTE's album Finally Famous. So it took pretty much a decade for the album to finally come to fruition. Just 2 months after Bar, we would see the release of Lil WYTE's album No Sick Days in April of 2014. He would then follow this up with his collab album with Jelly Roll called No Filter 2, which was released in November of 2016. This would prove to be another success, with the album having several popular songs such as Problem With It, Demons, and My Smoking Song. From here, Lil WYTE would keep on releasing music. He's truly never really let up and steadily has dropped a stream of albums and mixtapes throughout the years. He's managed to build a loyal following who still supports him to this day. It's really dope to see how his career has progressed when he was on Hypnotized Minds, and how he still managed to have success after leaving leaving the label. His run with Jelly Roll has been well received, and hopefully by now people aren't still doubting Lil WYTE. He's one of the few white rappers that I don't see a lot of people having a problem with. Like in this video I mentioned Paul Wall, and he's a white rapper that is well respected. He's not putting up a front and he is who he is. I mentioned in my video about him how a tweet went viral of someone saying that a rapper like Paul Wall wouldn't slide in current times, which received heavy backlash. People came to Paul's defense because he wasn't playing a character. Paul Wall is really from Houston, just like how Lil WYTE is really from Memphis. When people think of great white rappers, I don't see a lot of people mentioning Lil WYTE, and he should definitely be up there because the dude is a monster. I feel like his name doesn't get brought up enough, even though the man has some heat. His debut album came out in 2003, and over 20 years later, he's still out here kicking it, releasing music and doing shows. His legacy will live on forever. All in all, let me know what you guys thought of the video. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.